Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning trading session. I trust everybody made out okay yesterday in my absence. Okay, we've kind of got an interesting start to the day. With the market actually opening up a little bit lower. Here, let's take a look on the Eagle. Sums it up pretty well. You can see a very quiet overnight session. And then the London Open, and the market comes down. So we've got a little bit of an opening gap here this morning. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them try to get into that gap. As is the tendency many times, but we'll let them sort themselves out a little bit. You can see we're into the hard edge here now on the Raptor. And the Raptor actually giving us a pretty good look here. You can see we've had a test of the extreme of the lows. And it's starting to look as though perhaps the market is getting poised to head higher, maybe challenge these highs and maybe even get into that opening range gap a little bit. Okay, we'll see if we get a signal here. Oh, we actually do have a trend change signal already on the Falcon. It occurred right here. And it was actually a late filter entry signal also. So right out of the open, we get that type of signal. All right. Regular mixed bag now. Back down to the lows. And you can see the Eagle producing a soft edge sell. Everything is in sync. I would dearly like to see a second push on this entry, however. All right, that's probably close enough. That's all I'm going to get for a second push on the entry. I'll actually offer up a couple of ticks. Take it below the low. Can I cover it above the high? Yes, I can. All right, so hopefully you can see we're using the dynamic equivolume bars. The bars are actually getting a little bit thin here. So a lot of activity here. The bars thinning out a little bit here, suggesting there's not as much market participation as the last time they were down in this price level. You can see here from the Hawk we have a pretty well-defined trading range. I suppose if you wanted, a fairly easy way to trade this morning is just to bracket this range with an OCO. buy it on a break above. Oop, and I think they just broke above. So, or sell it on a break below. So let's do the sell order first. And that looks like it's going to be the high. So all we're doing is we're looking at this whole region as a sideways range. Okay, now we also are getting our first micro-macro cross to the upside. We've got our warning dot. It looks like we're going to see a little bit of a move here higher. Now with the first micro-macro cross, of course, I would be adjusting my trade to enter here. So that's going to look like this. And we would have ended up there somewhere. So with our OCO order, we have our stop in play, and it looks like we're about to hit a break even. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel that break even order. Since we're just playing a single, I'm going to see whether or not we can't turn this one into a little bit of a runner. It's a pretty good opening range gap, even if we got up, say, to 43, 57, 58, 60. That could be a very substantial move. Ooh, lots of activity here. So we would have hit our break-even trigger by now. If we can see this bar advance, I'll probably start rolling my stops more aggressively. In fact, let me get that ready. Now what we're looking at is the whole test retest scenario. So the market has broken out above these highs. Now we're looking for it to retest and essentially recover. And once we know that the market has recovered, then it becomes a little bit safer to roll our stops up. Come on, give me one more bar here. You can see how tight parabolics are becoming. Come on. There we go. All right, so I'll enable the parabolics. Let's take a look at our support and resistance suite. So 4360, that's where the primary support is sitting. Very likely that we're going to see some resistance there. So that would make a very nice target, I think, for this trade. This is the problem, of course, when you're managing a single contract, is where do you take profit or do you let it run? Oh, come on now. Well, they might try to get into a macro pullback situation here, in which case we're going to see a deeper retracement. Last chance for the buyers to recover the market on this leg of the move. I'm not saying the buyers aren't going to be able to press the market higher today, just that for this segment, if the buyers fail here, this is probably going to turn into a macro pullback. There you go. Come on, buyers. Let's go. Here, we'll give you a little nudge. Oh, there you go. See, just a little push. Get up there. One more. Oh, okay. Keep going. There you go. You can do it. Keep going. Okay, we're getting to the point now where I'm not prepared to offer up too much more. Come on, get up there. Get up there. Get up there. You can do it. Come on. Oh, whew, it's hard work. Get up there. Come on, let's go. Oh, thanks, Jim. Jim's shooting us some advanced decline numbers. Almost 700 on the buy side and almost 2,000 on the sell side. So according to the advanced decline, we're actually kind of in a bearish flavor today. But that's going to be because of the overnight dip that we saw. It's going to skew the numbers. So we had similar signals here on our other tools. So if you didn't catch that on the Hawk, we did get that early trend change signal and late filter entry here on the Falcon. Very important that if you suspect the market is changing direction, you don't run your stops too tight, right? You try to keep them as far back as possible because the market may try to get in there and test those lows again, in this case, the lows, before heading higher. So we had a good opportunity there. The Raptor also signaling right here. This was our trend change on the Raptor, and it's still pressing higher. Wow, we're really giving her bullets here this morning. Soybeans, somebody also woke up the soybean market. It's putting in a little bit of a rally here this morning on the Falcon. You can see we also started the day with a late filter entry signal right here. Well, here, let me roll this over so you can see what it looks like. So the important thing about the late filter entry signal is that the trend line never goes out of sync. The filter goes out of sync, comes back into sync. So you need both those elements. And very, very reliable signal. And you can see that we just would have tagged our profit target there. So a very profitable morning in soybeans. Nice to see soybeans moving again. They've been rather quiet. No, actually, last Friday looked like it had a little bit of range going on, but for the most part, soybeans have been pretty dull. Not much going on in the bean market of late, but it looks like they've settled on a trend this morning. Crude oil giving us an interesting look. Here's crude oil on the Eagle. And it almost looks as though we have a rule of three situation right here. So we've got three signals against a bearish band. We do have it tested the extreme. That's the all-important part with the rule of three signal. So we'll give them a few minutes yet. I wouldn't mind seeing, well, crude oil being crude oil. I definitely want to take the market on a second push, or I can just use this as an early warning, right? Because can I cover it below there? No, I can't. I can use this as an early warning that perhaps the trend might be changing. In fact, if I bring the hawk over here, you're going to see that crude oil on the hawk is giving us our first micro-macro cross. Problem is, where do I cover this bad boy? See, I can't cover it very deep. So I may have to resort to entering on a break above the high rather than at the hash mark here and see if I can cover it to the macro line. Oh, whew, just. Sticky situation for crude though. A lot of resistance in this area here. Just look at what happened the last time the market hit these prices. So this is not a friendly area for the crude oil market, or for the crude oil buyers, I should say. So we'll keep an eye on that, see how that plays out. And have they finally put on the brakes here with the NQ? And there goes crude oil. So we just hit our break-even trigger on crude on that little bit of a rally. And it looks as though they're going to give us our profit target. Get up there, come on. There is a lot of room for crude oil to move here, folks. If it gets into this whole 47.50 area, we might even see it recover yesterday's decline. So, like I said, very, very important price zone for crude oil. While I think of it, this week, I'm sorry, I need to close the trading room a little bit earlier than usual. I committed to helping a friend, and I'm only going to be able to run the room for about an hour in the morning this week. So I do apologize. But the good thing is we'll try to get busy early. Ooh, check out this spike in the Geiger counter. All right, let's see what happens with that. Very often this is indicative of stop running when you get this little plateau type thing going on. We'll see here in a moment whether that's going to cause prices to reverse and perhaps head lower. Advanced decline numbers still a little lopsided, about 900 on the buy now, 1800 on the sell. So a little bit more bullish, but still on the surface fairly bearish, about negative 900. And it does look like they are fending them off, the sellers are. Look at the width of some of these bars here. We know there's a lot of buying and selling going on at these price levels. All right, getting a macro pullback now on the hawk. I know there's a lot of friction just up here. Come on, get down there. Get into yellow bars. Spoil the signal so I don't need to worry about taking it. Still a macro pullback. It seems a little bit early for the for retracement. Covering this trade, this is the hard part. You know, I can't really cover it here. I don't really want to cover it there. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial down the risk amount a little bit. See if I can cover it down to that swing there. Oh, and now the signal has moved lower still. Come on, give me that yellow bar. All right, there's the macro pullback signal. Don't give me the yellow bar now. Come on. There you go. Come on. Just one more bar. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to start bringing my stops in because I don't trust the signal very much. The signal itself I trust. It's the where we're trading right now. Like the best I'm hoping for is a test of the extreme. So in fact, I should maybe even go with the bar high low. There we go. Come on. Hit the break even trigger. Couple more ticks. Come on. Couple more ticks. See, I'm much more comfortable testing the extreme when we have a lot more room here. This is just so very cozy. And I know the sellers are sensitive to this whole 43.65 area, of which we're getting to be very close to. Come on, get up there. Get up there, you scoundrel. Oh well, it didn't cost us anything, obviously. It was worth a try. Now, they may fold over and try to head lower. Soybeans still on a major tear to the upside. Well, they just don't want to give it up here on this first micro macro cross, working on a late filter entry signal here as well. Okay, we're going to see another little press here to the upside. What's our next line on the support and resistance suite? Where's the median line? Aha. 43.69, 43.70. That seems like a probable slowing spot. I think we had enough in here to reach our profit objective, though. I was a little bit late getting to this one. Yeah, there we are. We're just hovering below our profit target. Would have hit the break-even trigger, which is always a comfortable place to be. All right, we're just about to tap 43.70, which is going to be our median line. There we go, just below it. All right, taking a little bit of heat now. All these spikes here on the Geiger counter. It's been a fairly interesting morning so far. You know, that's a pretty strong rally that the buyers put in right out of the gate. We'll see whether or not they're able to hold on to that. Not much to do here at the moment. I suspect we're going to see a move to the hard edge of the Raptor and the Eagle. That's just a gut play. That's not anything on the charts yet. We're not getting a signal here on the Eagle, but the Raptor sometimes gives us in this case, it would be a soft edge sell. It would be a sell signal into a bullish band with the anticipation that the market's going to retrace. Looking for that little test of the extreme and failure, though, that's very important. It's extremely unlikely the market will retrace without first giving us a test of the extreme. If you look for nothing else on your charts, look for a test of the extreme. And if we get the signal, I'll show you what it looks like. We'll see whether or not we're going to produce one here. I'm debating whether or not this bar here is my test of the extreme. So we've come down, come up for 2 bars. If this bar fails, we should produce a sell signal. Okay, if it fails at this point, we definitely have our test of the extreme. It should come back with a sell signal. The advanced decline almost even up, 1250 on the buy and 1500 on the sell. So it's still looking pretty bullish, but not. Oh, there they go. All right, so that ain't gonna happen. We'll avoid that for the moment. not to, kind of get stuck in a groove here, but we'll see whether or not we produce that failure and the soft edge sell. Geiger counter getting a little bit more bearish also. Our trend indicator also bearish. Jim's watching the spectrum of stock index markets, and he says that the YM is the only one that didn't make a new high. They don't seem to follow each other. Well, they follow each other, but they don't seem to follow each other as closely as they once did. It used to be that they'd almost go tick for tick. Okay, so oh, come on, give me that soft edge sell. See, this would be enough of a test of the extreme for me right here, this little hiccup. Because it's a short-term move I'm looking for. I'm looking for just a quick retracement back down here to say to the 4360 area. If I get more structure, great. No, they're not going to give it to me. All right, well, let's put that back on the shelf, make sure we're not missing anything else. Yet another macro pullback signal. Now we know we only anticipate 2 macro pullback signals within a trend. Haven't really seen the test of the extreme here yet, so, oh, now it's into yellow bars. You don't even need to worry about it. Working on a possible trend change signal here on the Falcon. So the buyers do appear to be struggling, at least for the short term. Oh, spoke too soon. Here come the buyers again. So things starting to get a little bit more neutral. You can see our trend line here on the Falcon getting a little bit flatter. Price is pretty much skewered by our median line. So they're really liking this whole 43.70 price range. We are possibly working on a 4-arrow consolidation here in the Hawk. So we have 1, 2, 3. We might get a fourth buy signal here. That would give us our 4-arrow consolidation. I'll tell you though, I'm a little bit nervous at these levels. Very often, the tools know better than I do. Still waiting on that fourth signal. Crude oil starting to struggle a little bit after the little bit of a rally we saw in crude oil. Here's crude oil on the Falcon now. Working on a possible trend change signal. We're just broke through the median line, starting to feel some of that. It may be turning over and producing a trend change signal to the downside. There is lots of support at these lows here at this 47.40 area. So ideally, I think we would want to enter somewhere around there or just below there. Oh, we just got our 4-arrow consolidation signal here on the Hawk. Now the 4-arrow consolidation signal is perhaps the only signal I will take off of a yellow bar. I'm a little bit late for this one, but let's see how it plays out. Oh, there we go. Just hit our profit target. I guess I shouldn't have looked away. Wow, what a steep rally this is. Don't even have anything to sketch on the downside. I guess it'll look something like this. Yeah, Mark, you're right. Mark says the NASDAQ has made up that entire opening range gap. You can see it here quite plainly on the Eagle. So it opened down here. Where did it open? Right about here. And filled the entire gap. That's one that'll show up in a textbook somewhere, where somebody's trying to explain how to trade gaps. They'll say, see what happens? If you have a gap, the market will fill the gap. Sometimes. Yeah, pretty strong move, all right. Let's connect a few dots here, though. See whether it's starting to get a little bit more shallow. Oh, maybe a little. Don't want to jump the gun here. We might see a red bar buy come out of this. 4 arrow consolidations, they tend to develop somewhere through the course of the trend, very often later in the trend. They develop because the market starts to lose some of its earlier momentum. You know, when the market started here off the first micro macro cross, look at that, it just rallied, didn't look back. About a half an hour later, took a little bit of a pause with the macro pullback, and again, another good push. And that one also lasted for what, about 10 minutes, almost 15 minutes. And then we come back with the 4 arrow consolidation. And this one was good for about 5 minutes so far. Almost 10 minutes. So it just something to keep an eye on. You know, not necessarily saying that the market's going to reverse, but the fact that momentum does seem to be slowing. Yeah, Jim says the NQ is the strongest of the index markets. It's the one that keeps making the new high. And of course, once we have that test of the extreme, the sign of that the bulls have topped out, well, then we can think a little bit about perhaps taking a counter trend signal or looking for some sort of pullback and another buying opportunity. While I was checking out one of the other markets, I missed the, well, here was that rule of three in crude oil that we were watching. 1, 2, 3. Came back with our with trend signal right here. That would have been a nice one to take a hold of. And if we had missed that one, we did have another one a few minutes later. But a couple of opportunities to buy into crude oil's rally. Well, we're getting a double dot signal here on the Falcon, and it's on the primary resistance. I'm not suggesting that we do a counter trend trade here, but if we look back in the history of the chart, actually I'm going to have to do it like this. So if we look back into the history of the chart now, you're going to see that this was yesterday's highs, right? So if you were inclined to look for a counter trend trade, that would be it. And now nothing is going on. Okay, we'll hang with them for just a few minutes longer. Then, like I said, I'm afraid I'm going to have to head out. But you would imagine that somewhere through here, we're going to see a retracement of some sort. Even if it's just back here to the median line. The advanced decline numbers pretty much even up now. 1474 on the buy, 1328 on the sell. So that's close enough to even. The buyer's obviously very strong. The way they've managed to push the market higher and higher. But I think I can't be the only one who's a little bit reluctant to buy at these levels given what we've seen this morning. I'm just holding on. I'd like to show you the soft edge sell or the counter trend signal here on the Falcon, not for the sake of the counter trend signal. Okay, there we go. There's the counter trend signal on the Falcon. The only nice thing about these double dot signals, especially if you can tie them in with something else, did we get a sell signal here on the Raptor too? No, not yet. So we do have our little test of the extreme here on the Raptor. So if we produced a soft edge sell, we have every reason to expect the market to pull back either to the first hard edge or even to the second hard edge. But the nice thing about the counter trend signal like this is that the parameters can be very tight, and we definitely know we're on the wrong side of the trade if the market trades back above these highs. So what we're basing this on is the fact that we're trading back in recent history at yesterday's highs, and just a short-term little move here, short-term little retracement, perhaps back down here to this 43.70 area. We don't focus a lot on counter trend signals just because, well, counter trend signals tend to be less reliable unless the setup is just right. Yeah, Jim says, no, you mean painful. Yes, that's true too. Counter trend signals can be more painful. Yeah, is the Raptor not going to give me a soft edge sell? Come on. Come on. I liked what the Phantom of the Pits said. He always said that you should always assume that you're on the wrong side of the trade. And I think he said that to make you more inclined to be more aggressive with your stops. Now, it's a balancing act, to be sure, between being aggressive with your stop and giving the trade enough room to work itself out, right? This is if in fact the market is going to make a short-term reversal here, we have to allow for a test of the extreme. But I think even the Phantom would consider this to be a fairly aggressive stop. And of course, we don't control our risk by placing our stop closer. We control our risk right here. And very often for these counter trend type signals, I will dial down the risk amount. I didn't do that on this particular one, but very often that's what I'll do because it is a counter trend trade, of course. All right, things starting to look a little bit weaker. We're getting a red warning dot here on our eagle. We're getting yellow bars into yellow bars now on the hawk. Yellow bar on the raptor. So there, maybe we're going to find ourselves on the right side of this trade. Come on down. Come on. Looking for this primary resistance to perhaps lend a little bit of strength to the sell side. All right, so now it's definitely time to become more aggressive with our stops. So we've seen the buyers, or pardon me, the sellers step in, force the market here. If they fail again, if the buyers pick up the slack at these lows, they're very likely to make a run to the highs. So I may as well get out above there. And if the sellers are able to press below the low, we should find our profit target, no problem. So very important bar here at the moment. So I just want to hold my stop above this little swing high. Because fundamentally that's the area where the sellers have stepped in. Wow. These buyers are something else, folks. Oh well, it was worth a try, but that's the deal with the counter trend trades, right? You're trying to pick the turning point, and that can be very difficult. Okay, I'm going to have to button up the room. I will see you guys again tomorrow morning. Remember, Wednesday is our public trading room, so that's at the other uh, address. I will see you guys then. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.